All right, we are live. It's a little bit of a different background today, and I have a fancy microphone here. So I'm just going to ask if you're here watching today, could you just make a little comment? I know that we've done this before, but make a comment in somewhere, whether you're watching on Facebook, whether you're watching on YouTube, or on the Instagram channel. Let me know if you can hear my voice before we jump into today's broadcast. I want to make sure that I'm broadcasting. So if you guys are watching right now, if anybody's watching and you can hear my voice, please make a comment. Give me a one in the comments. Post a one in the comments. Just say, hey, I can hear you. That lets me know. Give me a one in the comments. Let me know if you can actually hear me today. You guys there? If you're there, please give me a one in the comments. I'm just going to keep on talking, and I'm doing this because I want to make sure that before I get jumping into it, that you guys can actually hear me. So please let me know who's there. Okay, I see Tess. Tess is there. Perfect. Thank you, Tess. Okay, perfect. I'm using a different mic setup today. By the way, how does it sound? Is it? I know that it's not like we've had a lot of issues before, but I have supposedly a professional mic that I'm using today, and I'm just kind of curious what it sounds like. So, Tess, if you're there or somebody else is watching, give me a little bit of feedback on what the sound quality is. Is it okay? Is it good, bad, same, indifferent? Doesn't matter. Love to hear from you guys what your feedback is. Okay, Tess says it sounds fine. Perfect. Now, one thing that I know that there's a way around this, but there's got to be a way to for me to be able to actually hear the broadcast from my end. But right now, my audio is not working, at least on the speaker side. Thankfully, I'm not depending on you guys talking back to me. But please do interact with me during this Tuesday talk. Today is Tuesday Talks, and it is live. Tuesday Talks live. We do this every Tuesday. I do believe we missed the last 2 weeks because of family events in my life. We had our second son got married, and then just family in town for the wedding. So took a little break and haven't quite figured out yet how to post or stream an old recording. So next time I have to miss, we'll just do that anyway. But today I've got some interesting topics to discuss with you all. But I wanted to find out first of all who's watching, where are you watching from? I know we've got a couple of folks that are on right now. If you don't mind, maybe post in the comments who you are, where you're watching from. I think we can see your name, unless you have one of those weird usernames or handles that we can't tell who you are. Let us know where you're watching from. So I know I see Tess here. She's probably watching from Meridian, maybe from Boise or from out in Fruitland or something like that. But let us know in the comments who you are, where you're watching from. And then I always appreciate, are you watching, just because on my end it helps me with like my analytics, where are people watching from? Are you watching on Instagram? Are you watching from Facebook? Are you watching YouTube live? So please let us know that. Oh, Tess says she's in Montana this week. See, that's why I asked. So it's good to know that. Tess, what area of Montana are you in? Watching on Facebook in Montana. Are you in Billings? Are you in Three Forks? Are you up in Bozeman? Where are you at? So Missoula, a lot of beautiful places. It's probably amazing right now in Montana. I love Montana. When you think of Montana, you think that's what? Oh, Flathead Lake. There you go. So Loki, Tess is enjoying her best life now at Flathead Lake, just outside of Glacier Park at the family cabin. So good for you, Tess. Hope you're having a great time. Thanks for joining us today. Let us know, guys, if you're watching from Facebook, if you're watching from YouTube, Instagram. I'm especially curious to know if there's anybody on Instagram that ever watches these. So if you are on Instagram, make sure that you post a comment, because I can't tell on my end if it's actually streaming or not. So anyway, I wanted to jump in today and talk a little bit about some things that are, I guess, subjects of interest to me. But I also wanted to give you guys room to post your comments and let me know if you have questions, and what those questions are. They can be related to real estate. They can be related to your business. They can be related to marketing. They could be related to talking about Jesus, the Bible, whatever it is you guys want. This is Tuesday Talk, so we're going to talk about stuff, all kinds of stuff. Typically, we stay on theme with real estate related stuff, and I want to just talk about a couple of things. First of all, Let me know in the comments if you guys heard that interest rates are supposed to be going down. Now, I don't know if you actually heard that or not. There's rumors of those things going around. I don't know that I believe much that goes on in the news media anymore, especially the legacy news media. But I'm curious if you guys heard that too. I heard that there are pretty good chances that interest rates, prime mortgage interest rates, are going to be dropping. And I hope that that's true. I think that would be really good news, obviously, for a lot of people. But let me know if you heard that. If you did hear that, I'd like to know where you heard it from, because here's what's funny about these types of things. In the real estate world, we all know that it's kind of a small world to begin with. There's a lot of people that know each other in the real estate space. And what's interesting to me is to hear the little things that kind of get circulated around, and nobody knows where it actually came from. So, with the advent of social media, different posts, of course, going out on all kinds of platforms, sometimes stuff gets said and then it gets picked up by somebody else that doesn't verify it. So, I'm actually verifying. I'm asking you guys, have you heard if interest rates are going down? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Did you hear about that? Yes or no? And then if you did hear, if it's yes, I'd like to know where you heard that from. I'll tell you where I heard it from. I heard it from my mother-in-law. So my mother-in-law is, she used to be a licensed agent here in Idaho, very active in the building and real estate space. So I heard that this morning and I was like, I don't know if that's actually true or not. So curious if you guys heard that, anything about that. And then Peggy says, no. Hey, Peggy, good to see you. Yeah. Okay. So I'm hearing a couple of different, a little bit of feedback. Peggy says no, she did not hear that. Tess, thumbs down. She has not heard that yet. Okay, so it could be that my source is actually just mistaken, because I have not heard that from any other like actual outlet or any chatter that the interest rates are going down. I heard that from privately this morning, but from my mother-in-law. But that's what made me curious. Like, is this actually happening? Because I've heard the exact opposite. You guys, if you've heard the opposite, that interest rates are actually um, could potentially even flatline. Of course, that's what they're doing right now, or even go up again, particularly because of some of the latest conflicts in the world in different places right now. Currently, at this time, there's a lot of chatter, of course, about Iran and Israel, and is America going to get involved? Is Europe going to get involved? There's all kinds of bombs and missiles and things like that going on. Typically, what that tends to do is it has an adverse effect on the financial markets, and because of that adverse effect on the financial market, you actually end up having interest rates go up. So, the current chatter that I've heard is that interest rates are going to stay high and or even go higher, which obviously there's nothing that you and I can do about that on a personal level. But what does that mean for us as real estate investors? It means we have to be very, very cognitive of the fact that the end buyer on our real estate projects, the end buyer is typically going to be the one that is going to feel that the most, right? Because the end buyer, they're looking at their loan and say they're going to go out and finance a $650,000 purchase. Well, that $650,000 purchase, some of you are really good at math. If you're good at this, or if you have access to a loan calculator right now, run the math on a $650,000 purchase at, let's just say, at today's rates of, I think it's about 6.5% right now. You can see what the monthly payments are on that. Even if you have a low interest down payment, or let's just say you're doing 10% down, you're bringing 65,000. You're only financing, a little under 600,000. It really doesn't matter, because the interest rates are so high that is actually causing a lot of people to be able to not afford a monthly mortgage payment. And what that does, two different things. Okay. Which, by the way, you guys that are real estate experts, some of you are more expert than I am. I'll admit it. I'm definitely not the expert in the room. I don't like being the expert in the room. I like being in rooms where I am learning. But some of you that are really good at this stuff, tell me and post in the comments. I'd like to see some feedback. What happens when interest rates stay high and retail buyers cannot afford monthly payments, or maybe they say they opt out to instead of going out and getting that $650,000 purchase and spending that $65,000 they have saved up, if they decide, I'm going to sit this one out, I'm going to wait till rates come back down, what ends up happening to the market? What happens to the real estate market? What happens to, the economy when people are not out there spending money? You guys know what happens. Some of you guys are experts. You know economics. You know how supply and demand works. What typically happens, of course, is if retail buyers are not purchasing using the traditional retail loan options available to them, that's going to be Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, it's going to be conventional loans, that's going to be VA mortgages. When they can't afford the monthly payment, what tends to happen is they pull their money back, and that means that properties that go on market, so MLS listings, properties that go on market, those properties tend to sit longer if they're not priced to sell quickly. In other words, if you're going to go on market with a piece of real estate, say it's a house, you're going to sell your personal residence and you're going to move to a different state or something along those lines, and you go to put that property on market, well, of course, if it's sitting on market for very long, eventually people begin to think there might be something wrong with it, right? That's a traditional reaction. So the retail buyers being a little bit nervous about buying at full retail price means a couple of things. It means that properties are going to sit on MLS longer, typically. And that means that what that says to me, as someone who is flipping houses, someone who is doing wholesale deals, things like that of that nature, most of you guys are too, is I got to be very, very careful of the fact that if I put a property on the market after I'm done with my flip, after I'm done with the renovation, I've got to be very careful or very aware of the fact that that property might sit on market for 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5, 6 months longer than I would have sat on market just a few months ago. It doesn't mean that I can't afford to do it. It just means that I've got to factor in the cost. My holding costs are going to be longer. Okay, that's one thing. I also need to be prepared for pickier buyers. So an end buyer could really go in and try to pick my property apart, which means I better do a really, really good job on a flip or a new construction. I better just really, really dial it in, get everything perfect, make it to where there's hardly anything that shows up on the buyer's inspection report, because of the fact that I know that this property is going to get picked apart. Why would somebody pick a property apart just because retail buyers aren't buying, like they were? Well, think about this. If a retail buyer is not buying, because the interest rates are so high and their mortgage payment is going to be pretty high per month, then the ones that are buying, they understand. And by the way, if you guys don't know this, the buyers understand in today's market that they hold the power. The ones that are actually out there buying, they're getting what they want. Okay. They're like, hey, we're going to make an offer. It might be a lower than asking price offer. We might pick the thing apart and get them to even drop it down more. We might ask you to pay for our closing costs. We might ask the seller to pay for a buy down on their interest rate. All kinds of different things are happening right now because the buyers understand that the market dynamics have shifted. If they're going to actually go out and spend their money, they're going to spend their money and get what they want. Does that make sense? You guys give me a yes in the chat if that makes sense to you. What does it mean when retail buyers, when they are being very, very careful about what they purchase? There's a couple of things that we have to translate that to for us as sellers, right? A little drink there. I'm sitting on the back patio. My wife just dropped off. Again, if you want to give me a coffee sometime, if it's Starbucks, it's an Americano. If it's cold outside, give me a hot Americano and black. But if it's a cold iced Americano, just like a splash of heavy cream. So there you guys know. Now you have it. So you guys get this. Now, there's a couple of other things that this means. So first of all, let's be aware of the fact that as sellers, if we're going to sell anything, whether we're flipping, whether we're selling a personal real estate property, maybe if you guys are agents, you're representing sellers, remember that as the seller, we need to be prepared for our properties to get picked apart. We need to be prepared. First of all, we need to be prepared that the properties are going to sit on market longer. They're going to get picked apart by the buyer when they come in and make their offer. And then ultimately, the buyers are probably going to ask for some kind of a significant price reduction in order to justify them making that purchase. So Yeah, absolutely right, Peggy. Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks, Lindsay. She didn't want to step into the picture here, so but yes, she's the best. My wife is the best. Okay, so as a seller, it's going to sit on market longer. We're going to get picked apart when we go to get a buyer, and the buyer's probably going to ask for a price reduction. If you just plan on that, then you won't be surprised or shocked on the back end. Okay. Now, let's talk about what it means for someone who's wholesaling. So, just out of curiosity, in the comments, you guys give me a 1 if you guys are wholesaling at all. Doesn't mean that's your main thing, but if you're like you get something under contract, you're not going to be the end buyer. You're probably going to pass it on to either a JV partner. You're going to pass it on maybe to John. John buys houses, by the way. You're going to pass it on to you're going to bring somebody else in to help buy it, or you're going to just try to sign the contract. Give me a 1. Okay, I see a couple of people. Thank you, Peggy, again. Peggy's active today. Here comes Monica. She's on today. So, guys, if you are not an end buyer, if you're a wholesaler, then you need to factor this into your equation, into your math when you go to dispo your deals, or really when you go to make because your money's made on the purchase, right? So if you're making an offer on a property, it's a cash offer. Like we just made one today. I just made one today with Danny Dang. I don't know if Danny's on here today, but Danny and I made an offer on a property in Portland. We actually made 2 offers on properties in Portland. And one of those offers was for a house that's been sitting on market for a while. And I'm looking at this property as one that I could potentially flip. Okay, so this would be something that I'd pick up myself. I'm going to flip it. And so what I was telling Danny Dang is that when you go to make an offer on this, Danny, because he's bringing it to me as someone who's going to be the one going out and getting the contract. I told him I'd like to be in this price range. So if you can get it accepted, then I'm your buyer. Okay, so if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to flip a property, or if I'm going to assign a property to a flipper, rather, like Josh Hayes is on here now. Josh says 1. He posted a 1 there. I asked you guys if you're not an end buyer, a direct buyer, if you're going to assign your deals, or you're going to bring a JV partner in, or you're going to try to finance it some way, and you're not going to be the actual end owner, the end buyer, then you're probably wholesaling in some way. You need to keep this in mind. When you go to wholesale those deals, your end buyer, like a person like me, any investor that's smart right now as a buyer, we're going to be looking for deals, right? We're not looking for something that's marginal. We're not looking for anything at all that's complicated, unless we're getting a smoking hot deal on it. So if you're going to be pitching your deals to investors, okay, then you want to be factoring in that again, it's probably going to sit longer. It's probably going to, and this is for the end buyer, it's probably going to sit longer when they go to sell it. It's probably going to get picked apart. The end buyer needs to be able to purchase that deal at a lower rate. The reason I'm saying this is because I'm on all kinds of wholesale lists. So wholesalers that are in the Portland area, pretty much all over the place, but particularly I'm talking to a lot of folks in the Portland market. If you guys are wholesaling in the Portland market and you have a buyer's list, you've got to stop sending your buyers these deals that aren't deals, right? So because as an end buyer, as a real estate investor, I understand the dynamics of the market. I'm not looking to pick anything up that's priced the way stuff was priced a year ago, especially not 2 years ago. No way am I paying the kind of prices that stuff was going for in Portland 3 years ago, right? So does that make sense? Like, you've got to factor in the realities of today's market, not just some formula that you have or some kind of an idea, of what things were selling for at one point, or the house right next to this place sold, for $80,000 more. Well, yeah, when did it do that? Oh, 2018, 2020. Yeah, that's not a comp. You see what I'm saying? So as you're going to make these offers to either the agent or directly to the seller, some of you are working direct to seller, some of you are working through agent outreach. Doesn't really matter what it is. You need to factor in, as a wholesaler, make sure that you're locking up these deals at good prices, okay? Make your offer, make it solid. Make sure your offer is something that today, like right now, guys, they used to say if you go to make a cash offer, it should embarrass you a little bit for the number to escape your lips, right? And you should get used to that type of approach. Right now, it may not even be that embarrassing, because frankly, it's like if you don't want to, accept this offer, then there's plenty of other deals out there that I could look at. And I'm not trying to say this to say that we should be taking advantage of people or even be mean about it. But what I am saying is this: the market has changed. There's currently now more sellers than there are buyers, and that's been a total reversal. For a long time, it's been the exact opposite. There's been a ton of buyers and just not enough deals on the market. Well, for the first time, I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but just a couple of weeks ago, that flip-flopped, and there's now currently more sellers that have properties listed across the nation than there are buyers that are interested or qualified in buying right now. Okay, so what are we talking about so far? You guys, somebody type it in the chat if you guys have been watching from the beginning. Give me some of the bullet points of what I've been talking about. Number one, interest rates have not gone down despite what my mother-in-law has reported. They're not going down, at least not that we can tell anytime soon. If they do, that'd be great. It'd be welcome news, but it doesn't look like we can count on that. So because interest rates are not going down, retail buyers are not only not as plenteous as they were, but they are the ones that are actually out there shopping for a deal. They're making low offers. They're picking the properties apart. They're asking for price reductions after the inspection, and they're walking away from deals, right? It's just happening all over the place. It's the reality of today's market, right? So what that means, right? There you go. Tess is absolutely right. So the buyer's market, so we have to buy low in order for the sellers to buy it. So we've got to be able to, yeah, the buyers, that's right. So the buyers are cash buyers, the ones that we're working with, whether it's as an assigner flipping to our assigning contract to the flippers, or whether we're actually selling direct to the retail buyer on the back end of the flip. We've got to keep in mind that the buyers are controlling the market right now. Okay, so that's just the way that it is. So what that translates to for you and I is we have to be picking these properties up at a lot lower prices than we were before. Does that make sense? You guys give me a thumbs up. Give me a yes in the comments. I'm going to turn off the sprinkler system since I'm sitting in the backyard. I'm just going to move this chair real quick. You guys hang tight. I'm going to try to do it without getting wet. Okay, and we are back. And I've got the best seat in the house right now, guys. I'm sitting in the backyard on the back patio. It's beautiful sunshine. It's covered. I got my iced coffee. I'm just looking out over the green grass, and I'm enjoying this Tuesday. Hope you guys are having a great day too, by the way. Monica, it's nice to see you on here. Nice to see Monica and Peggy chatting in the comments, and Josh, a couple of other people. If you guys have joined us and we haven't heard from you yet, please let us know where you are watching from. We got Tess up in Montana today at the family cabin. People are tuning in from all over the place. Monica, I hope your foot is getting better. Okay, so let's go back to our conversations. Tuesday talks talking about real estate. What does this current market mean for us as investors? And I know some of this stuff is repeat. Some of you guys know this is old hat, but I also know that some of you are still actually out there making offers. You're trying to learn how to do this stuff. You've got to make sure that as a wholesaler or even as a buyer, flipper, you're making offers at prices that make sense, okay? So for instance, today, I told you Danny Dang and I made 2 offers on 2 different properties. By the way, I would love to hear from you guys. I could give you a breakdown, kind of a breakdown of what these 2 offers are going to look like. Would you guys be interested in that? If I can keep talking about the market, I can also give you a breakdown of what these 2 properties look like. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat if you guys are interested in that. But I will say this: the one offer, a property in Portland, there's a direct comparable sale listing right now. Now it's a listing; it's not sold yet. But the owners of that property have the property listed just 3 houses down from the one that Danny and I are looking at. And that listing is live. It's been on market for about 30 days right now. And that listing is listed at $1.25 million. Now, this is one of those old traditional traditional deals. This is a traditional house in Portland. Tess, she said, are these legacy leads? The one is, the other is not. Okay, so if you guys are in the Portland market, you guys should know that Danny Dang is a licensed realtor. So he's making offers on all kinds of different stuff. But this one particular property that I'm going to describe right now, yeah, Andy says he's interested in hearing what these offers look like. So I'll just go ahead and try to break this down for you guys. So Danny brought me one deal that is, um, yes, Monica, you're correct. The market is it's looking a little bit dismal for sellers right now. Okay, so it's something to keep in mind, and that's why, I started telling people this about a year ago. I said, guys, listen, if you're even thinking about selling at all, do it immediately. Sell it now. Sell, 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 because of the fact that the market is definitely taking a big, huge shift. So let me tell you about this one deal. 3 houses down from the one that Danny and I are looking at. Very, very similar house, very similar comps. Square footage is the same. Bedroom configuration, ours actually has more bedrooms. Bathroom configuration is the same. A finished house on market, financeable, ready to go, listed with an agent. They've got it listed for 1.25 million. Okay, so what I told Danny is, we were talking about what kind of offer to make on this. I said, Danny, here's the deal. We've got to factor in the cost of the purchase, right? So we're going to take the purchase price, then we're going to factor in 12% interest on a hard money loan. We're going to get that and pay cash. I said if we use private money to finance the cost of the renovation, we're going to count on 12 to 15% interest. Okay. Then we've got to factor in our holding costs. How long are we going to be sitting on this during renovation? We've got to factor in the cost of the renovation itself. On this particular deal, Danny and I went over it this morning. I factored in somewhere around $250,000, $250,000, guys, on the renovation alone on this property. Okay. Then I said we've got to also factor in that on the back end of this, when we go to list it, we need to list it at probably lower than what some of the recent comps have been sold at. So I said if we have the 1-3 houses down the street, let's just say it does sell for 1.25 million. Well, we should plan on pricing our house at 1.1 million. Okay, so we just want to get it. If we go to market, we want to get it priced where it can sell. It's $100,000 less than the one that sold just 6 months previous, because we don't know what's going to happen with the market in 6 months. So we want to factor on the safe side. So I said we're going to start off with 1.1 on a finished sale price. Then we subtract out of that cost of the purchase of the house. What is the financing cost for that? What's the cost of the renovations? What are the financing costs for the renovations? What are we going to have to pay an agent on the back end to sell the place? What are we going to pay for closing costs on the front end to buy it and on the back end to sell it? Factor in all those numbers that we can. And what we came up with was a good cash offer price of $550,000. All right, you guys, let me know if you're hearing me. What was my cash price? I said, hey, this would be a good cash offer price. What was the number? I want to see if you guys are listening. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. I said we're going to start at 1.1 million on our finished ARV after repair value, subtracting the cost of the purchase, cost of financing the purchase, cost of repairs, cost of financing the repairs, cost of realtors, and cost of closing the front end purchase and the back end. Yep, that's right. So I said, okay, a good cash offer would be about $550,000. That's right. Thank you, Tess. Thank you, Monica, for paying attention. Okay. All right. Now, what do you guys think that my cash offer actually is? I already told you. I figured even at, by the way, the numbers are like this. If we sell at 1.1 million after all of my expenses, after paying the realtors, paying the closing costs, paying everything, at 550,000, we stand to make $105,000. That's $105,000 profit if they will accept our offer of 550. Okay, that's using a local. I told you guys this, especially those of you guys that are in the Legacy Leads training. I've told you guys I have all the resources for lenders. I have the resources for contractors, investors, all that stuff. So once we get these leads, don't worry about. I can help you guys get the financing in place and everything. But after paying 12% interest to purchase, 15% interest to finance the $250,000 renovation, realtors, closing costs, the whole 9 yards, I figured 550 would be a good cash offer, and if they accept our cash offer of 550, and we go through it with all the numbers being in place, and we sell at 1.1, we would make $105,000. Not bad for a project that I don't intend on really touching at all. I just intend on turning it over to my contractor. So, what do you think my actual cash offer was? Monica says 495. Well, 495 would be how much less than the good cash offer? It'd be $55,000 less than what I think a good cash offer would be. Anybody else have another guess? Anybody else want to say? What do you think? What was John's offer on this property? What was the actual offer? Peggy says 350. Now, Peggy, I would have probably been embarrassed at that. In fact, I don't even know if that would have gotten turned in, but I like where you're going with this. My cash offer, guys, my cash offer on this, I told Danny I had him write up an LOI, letter of intent, with a pre-approval letter from my hard money lender showing that I'm ready to go on this. They can finance the deal. My cash offer on this deal that we made an offer on today in Portland, really great neighborhood, older historic home. Tess says 475. Peggy's coming in with guest number 2, 400. Guys, my cash offer was 465,000. Okay, why 465,000 if 550,000? I still make $100,000 with $550,000 if they accept that. Why 465,000? Well, because what I figured is if I can get $465,000. Yep, that's right, Peggy. Tess wins. She got the closest. Yep. So here's Monica's got a. She's you guys are really doing good. Yeah, Peggy, this is a cash offer. So this would be a cash offer using a hard money lender, and so factoring in all the costs of doing that, I could still make $100,000 if I sell at at 550. If I sell at 1.1, buy at 550. So what I'm doing is I'm saying I'm gonna offer them 465. Number one, I've kind of been feeling out the situation with the seller a little bit. I understand that they've had a couple of other offers that have fallen through, and so I know that I can probably come in with if I close in 21 days or less, and no contingency, no inspections, no appraisals, just this is I'm gonna pay you this money. If they accept that offer, then I know right off the bat that I have a cushion, I have safety there, right? I can even maybe do some extra stuff with some landscaping. I know that if I sit on market for a little bit longer, on the 1.1, when I go to list it at 1.1, if I sit on market for a while, it's not going to kill my profit, right? And so the reason I'm even bringing this scenario up to you guys is to let you know, someone who, like myself, who's out there making offers pretty much every week, someone who is looking at deals and running all the numbers and doing the underwriting and factoring in everything, I'm still offering oftentimes 10 to 12% lower or less than what I know a good number is going to be. Okay. And why am I doing that? Because there's another thing involved here too. We have no idea what's going to happen in the economy, what's going to happen in the world, what's going to happen in the financial sector in the next 6 to 8 months, right? I know this, it's going to take me 3 to 4 months to get this property fully renovated. And then I got to get it on market. I got to get a buyer to come in. So guys, the thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to let you know that I'm running all the numbers. I'm figuring out what is a safe, good number. And even from there, I'm coming in lower and before I make my offer. If they don't want to take that number right now, it's a buyer's market. So if they don't want to take that number, no harm, no foul. I'm not offended. Hopefully they're not offended. But the bottom line is there's no reason to go out and try to make a deal happen. Okay? There's no reason to make a deal happen. Peggy says terms. Okay, so on this particular offer, I'm sending in my letter of intent. I'm sending them saying, hey, I'll pay you $550,000 if you give me my terms. So my offer is 465 cash or 550. Why? I know I can make money at that number, right? But I'll do 550 at terms, a basically 1 year note where they, I'll bring in $35,000 down, and then I will get them to I'll get in and I'll get the money together to do the renovations and then sell it and pay them off at the end of that. If they will accept my terms at 550, I know I can still make money. But even at cash of 465,000, I know I'm safe, even if the market gets a little bit wonky, right? So that's where I'm at right now, guys. I'm making offers that are smart. I'm making offers that are safe, and I'm still making cash offers on properties. Now, do you guys have any questions about that particular deal? Any questions on that one? That one's one that I'm working on making. We're putting, probably Danny's submitting it right now. So any questions on that one? You guys can post your questions in the comments. I will move on to offer number 2 if you guys are interested. The next offer that I made is an actual terms offer. So it's seller financing on owner carry terms. Okay. And so the next offer is on a little cracker box house, 3-bedroom, 1-bath house over in Happy Valley. It's kind of right tucked into a little bit of an industrial area. So it's actually, it has the potential to go commercial zoning. But right now it's a little house, 1-story house on a long, narrow lot. So it's been sitting on market for a minute. It's not exactly a great deal. The guy's asking $550,000 for this little house. And so what I am offering on this one is I'm offering $600,000. Did you hear what I just said? I said I'm offering $600,000 on a $550,000 house. Now, somebody explain to me why I'm doing that. Why would I offer $600,000 on a $550,000 asking price? Anybody have any ideas there? I know Josh probably does. Anybody else have any idea on why would I offer $600,000 in a buyer's market on a property that is currently they're asking $550,000? It's not even really any kind of a special house, right? All right, you guys are tracking. You guys are smart. Cool. Very cool. Yep, good call. Good call. You guys are here. You're listening. Caroline, you're good. Terms and add value. That's correct. Okay. So Monica, you said to get my terms. That's absolutely correct. So what I'm doing on this one is I'm offering $600,000, $50,000 more than they're currently asking, and my terms are $600,000 purchase price. Okay, let's do some math on this. $600,000. You guys whip your calculators out, look at it in real time. $600,000 purchase price. Now I'm offering them $40,000 down, so that leaves $600,000 minus the $40,000 is $560,000, right? You guys see that? Okay, so that's the balance that would be due. Okay, on that balance due, my terms are this: $1,035 per month, every month for 5 years. Okay, so let's do the math on that. $1,035 a month. I'm going to pay to the seller. By the way, this property is owned free and clear. This is you can't really do this on properties that have a bank loan, but if it's free and clear, you can get creative. And I said our terms are gonna be for 5 years, so that's 60 months, right? Okay, so that means that I've got $62,000 that I'm gonna be paying, $62,100 I'm gonna be paying to the seller over the course of the next 5 years. Okay, now if we subtract that number, remember we started out at 600,000. Okay, just so you guys, I'm going real slow, extra, minus the 40,000, right? Equals 560,000. Now we're going to minus the $62,100 that we'll have collectively made in monthly payments over the course of 5 years. That means in 5 years, the note that will be due, the balance due on this property to the seller will be $497,900. Okay, you guys give me a thumbs up in the comments if you understand what I'm saying so far. 497. I got $600,000 purchase. I've got $40,000 down. I've got $1,035 a month being paid to the seller, and I've got a balloon payment of $497,900 due in 5 years. Okay, everybody, does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up. Give me some kind of signal in the comments that you understand what I'm saying here. Okay. Remember, there's no bank involved. This is me going directly to the seller, and I'm offering to pay the seller more than he's asking right now. Why in the world would I do that? Well, let's do some math, okay? And I'm gonna take a minute and pull up the loan calculator here. In fact, I don't know if I can share my screen. Let me see this if I can do this real quickly. See if I can do this. Can I do that? I'm gonna see if I can actually add. Can you guys let me know in the comments? Are you guys looking at a? Yeah. Okay. So I cannot. I don't know how to do it. I'm gonna have to figure this out one of these days. I was gonna show you guys. If somebody has a loan calculator. If you've got a loan calculator, pull up and someone whip this out real quick. Let us know, like a Zillow loan calculator, what does a $550,000 purchase at 6.5% interest? Okay, so finance at 6.5%. I'm gonna go. In fact, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna use ChatGPT, and we're gonna do this together. Okay, you guys with me on this? Let's say if I offer $550,000. Let's just say we're trying to lowball the guy, right? Why pay him full price? Let's ask him for $530,000, right? He's asking $550,000. Let's get him to take a price reduction. He probably will, right? Wasn't John just saying that that the market is favoring buyers? Yeah. Okay. So if I offer $530,000 to his seller with, let's just say, 50,000. Let's just say 10%. Let's say $53,000 down. Okay. And finance the balance at 6.5%, interest, that'd be pretty good for me as an investor, right? Because if I'm an investor, I'm not buying this as a primary residence, so I really have to probably pay higher interest rate as an investment property. What are my monthly payments, and what would my balance be in 5 years? All right. Okay, just ask ChatGPT. It's doing its thing. It's working. I have a prompt in here that helps me do calculations and stuff. You guys probably have that too. Okay, so here we go. It says here, if you offer $530,000 with $53,000 down, okay, so remember, $530,000. He's asking $550,000, but we're going to offer $530,000, so with 10% down. So the remaining balance of $477,000 at 6.5% interest on a 30-year amortization. My monthly payments would be, first of all, look at that. My monthly payments, that's not factoring in interest. Insurance and property taxes. So that $3,015 is going to go up, right? Once we factor in property taxes and homeowners insurance. And then look at that. After 5 years of making payments, the balloon payment on that, my balance would be about $446,000. Okay, does that make sense? You guys seeing that? So at $530,000 purchase, I haven't even paid in 5 years. I haven't even paid down $100,000. Okay, I've paid about $80,000 down in principal, and that's after I put 10% down on the payment. So for me, what I would rather do is I would rather pay the seller more money. Okay, get that. Pay the seller more money in order to get my terms. And the reason I point that out, guys, is because if you think about this, when you go back to our calculation, 600,000 minus the $40,000 down. Okay, so we're going to give him that 560. He's going to get 40,000 right away. We're going to finance 560, and we said at $1,035 a month for 60 months, that comes out to a total paid of $62,100. Okay, which puts my balance at about $497,000, $900 in 5 years. Now, is that more than my balance of $446,000 in 5 years? Yes, but look, I paid less money. I'm paying less money. In other words, I'm able to pay the seller more money, and at the same time, I'm actually paying less money out of pocket. By the way, I'm not paying a bank note of $3,014 a month. I'm not having to go out and get financing from a bank to do this deal. All you got to do is come up with the $40,000 down and then put a renter in there. By the way, rent rates in this area about $2,300 a month. So potentially I can put a renter in this property, or even better, do a lease option buyer that comes in with, by the way, do you guys know what a lease option buyer is? Give me a 1 in the comments if you know what a lease option buyer is. 1 in the comments if you know what a lease option buyer is. Tess is here she's saying you're saving a ton while not paying interest on the whole purchase price. That's exactly right. Monica says this is a win-win situation for the owner, saving on capital gains. That could be argued either way, Monica. I would say I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax advisor. I don't play one, not even on YouTube and on the internet. But I would say there's potential. There are ways to navigate the capital gains situation. Okay, so I'm seeing some ones here. Caroline says it's 1. Yep. Okay. Peggy's the 1. Okay, you guys know what a lease option buyer is. Tess says yes. They put a down payment down, which might cover your down payment. Okay, so here's where it gets good. Okay, if this buyer or this seller accepts my offer of $600,000, right, and financing for 5 years, and I'm going to make payments of $1,035 a month, so they're going to be getting money every month, right? If they accept that, remember how much I said I would put down on this? I'd be putting $40,000 down, okay? So what I would do, if they accept those terms, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around, I'm going to advertise to the world, hey world, are you looking to become an owner on a property? I've got a great 3-bedroom, 1-bath property that you can own. You can make payments on it at $1,900 a month. Remember, I said rent in this area is about $2,300 a month. So I'm going to offer somebody an opportunity to buy it for less than they would pay in monthly rent. Okay, $1,900 a month. And the way you get into this opportunity to purchase this property in 5 years, so you're going to make payments on it for 5 years, and in 5 years you're going to have the opportunity to purchase this property at a set price. Okay, that set price, you can get into this deal. By the way, what are you also doing? You're locking in your rent for 5 years. How many of you that are renting right now or have ever rented, how many of you ever had someone to say, hey, we're going to let you just lock in your rent rate. No rent increases, no hikes or anything like that. Just the same rent rate for the next 5 years. That doesn't happen to renters, right? Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm giving somebody an opportunity to lock in their monthly expense of $1,900 a month, or I could even say $2,000 a month. They're still saving money on what they'd be paying in monthly rent, right? If they're paying $2,300 a month in rent right now, then guess what it's going to be next year? It's going to be $2,375, and it's going to be $2,450 the next month, and it's going to be $26, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is I'm going to let them lock in their rent rate to where even if all they wanted to do was just rent it for the next 5 years, they can at least count on their rent's not going to go up. Okay. Now, Monica says, will those monthly $1,900 a month go toward the purchase price? Absolutely not. This is a lease option. Remember, I'm giving them an opportunity to purchase this property in 5 years, and they're going to get this opportunity if they continuously make rent payments for $1,900 a month for 5 years. Now, what I might do is I might say this. I might say, you know what? I'll give you an opportunity to purchase this in 3 years if you really want to. I'll give you the option to do that. Okay? And then what I would do is I'd go to my seller and I'd say, hey, by the way, I decided to pay you off sooner than later. Here's your money. Remember, we offered $560, right? And we're coming in. We offered $600,000. Okay, let's do the math. And we're going to pay $40,000 down. So that means our balance is $560, right? So let's just say that we decided after 3 years we wanted to pay this off. Well, what would our balance be? It'd be the balance would be whatever 1,035 a month is times 36 months, right? So we have that number here. That means my balance would be $522,740 in 3 years, okay? Because remember, my offer, that every bit of that money is coming off the balance. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Lease Option Buyer, Miss Lease Option Buyer, if you will come in and make $1,900 a month payments for the next 3 years, I will give you the opportunity to purchase this property for $550,000, which you can see if you go to Zillow right now, it's currently listed at $550,000. So I'm not raising the rate. I'm just going to offer you an opportunity to purchase this property. If you will make payments for 3 years, you can come in and purchase this property for $550,000, the same that it's listed. And I'll ask this question: do you think this property will be worth more money in 3 years? They're going to go, of course it is, right? Because properties tend to go up. Even in bad markets, they dip a little bit, they come back, okay? And I'll say, listen, if you don't want to buy it in 3 years, you can buy it in 5 years, okay? Price will be the same. In 5 years, the purchase option, your purchase price will be $550,000, okay? Now, they say, well, what do I do? Well, the way you get into this deal, the way that I give you this opportunity is you have to pay $50,000 to lock in your option to purchase. There is a fee associated, $50,000. Okay. Now I take that $50,000, I give $40,000 to the seller. Remember, I offered them $40,000 down. I give $40,000 to the seller. I immediately have $10,000 in my pocket. Okay. Then I have my renter that's paying $1,900 a month, right? Lease option renter. They're paying me $1,900 a month. I pay $1,035 to the seller, like I said I would, and I keep the rest. Okay. Now, at the end of 5 years, Monica asked, what happens at the end of 5 years? Well, Monica, remember, at the end of 5 years, what does our balance do that I owe to my seller? Let's do the math again. $600,000 is what I offered, which is, again, is above what they're asking. I offer him $600,000. I'm going to put $40,000 down, which of course I'm going to use that $50,000 from my lease option buyer to pay that. So now I owe $560. They've made payments for 5 years now, which total, or I've made payments for a total of $62,100. That means my balance that I owe to the seller is $49,700. Okay. Now remember, I told the seller that in 5 years of making payments consistently every month, they have the opportunity to purchase this property at $550,000. So let's do the math on that. $550,000 minus the $497,000 that I had said is there, $900, which means that I have a $50,000 balance coming my way. Now, someone might say this, well, hold on a minute. They came in with $50,000 and they wanted that, they're not just going to pay $50,000 just to have the opportunity to purchase this property in 5 years. Well, maybe not. I don't know that. You don't know that. But let's just assume that maybe someone doesn't want to just go spend $50,000 just to have the opportunity to purchase in 5 years. So let's give them a credit of that. Let's say if you bring $50,000 right now, and if you make payments of $1,900 every month for 5 years, and if you can come in and actually pay this thing off at the purchase price of $550, then what I'll do is I'll take that $50,000 that I told you that you've brought to me. I'll give 25 of that back to you. Okay. So in other words, instead of $52,000, I'm going to give 25 back to the buyer as a credit toward their purchase price. Okay, so what that means is I still make $27,000 in profit in 5 years. Plus, remember what I told you? The rent payment is $1,900 a month, and I'm paying $1,035 a month, which means I'm making $865 every month times 60 months. That means I made a total of $51,900 over the course of the 5-year total, plus that $25,000, right? Plus the $10,000 that I required or I cleared after I paid the seller and kept the difference. It means I made a total of $86,900 on this deal. Now, why am I showing you guys all this stuff? What I'm showing you is there is a lot of opportunity right now in creative financing opportunities. Monica says, what about maintenance? What about insurance? What about taxes? Absolutely correct. Monica, what I would typically do is I would say to the potential buyers, I would say something like this. Okay, potential buyers, you say you want to purchase this house in 5 years, right? And they're like, yes. And you understand that you're basically locking yourself into buying this house, right? This isn't just a rent contract. This is more than that. Yes. Okay. Okay. You understand all that? So what I typically do when I do this is I get the renters to agree to some type of an agreement that says they pay for all maintenance costs, they pay for insurance, and they pay for the expenses, the property tax expenses, as to make sure that they can show in 5 years when they go to get a bank loan that they actually have a track record of being able to afford this. And what I do is I say, now if there's some major expense, if the water heater breaks, if the roof blows off, then you and you'll not have to pay any more than $1,000 toward that. But the point is, I don't need to go in there and really worry about paying all this stuff. First of all, the property doesn't need a lot of work. They're actually getting opportunity to become kind of practice being homeowners. There are some nuances with that. I'm going to acknowledge that, but those are usually things that you can work out directly with your renter, and you can say, listen, if you guys, I want you guys to be able to show that you can afford to pay this. So I need to see, are you able to qualify? Because I'm only charging you $1,900 a month in rent, but really you need to be able to provide money for taxes. And what I can show is I can say, let's just put all this in a monthly payment program that goes to escrow, and then if you decide not to pay if you decide not to buy the property, then I can work something out with you, or you get like a chunk of that money back or something like that. I can give them a credit, but like Carolyn's saying right here, this is the kind of stuff that is creative, and it makes good sense for everybody involved. Think about it. The seller is making more money. I'm getting a deal that I think is going to work out pretty good for me. I'm going to get $10,000 up front. I'm going to make $865 a month every month. Or let's just say I split the cost of property taxes and insurance. Let's just say I took that out of that. What's that going to be? $500, $600 a month. I'm still going to make $200 a month on a property that I'm not having to maintain. I'm telling the buyer, the renters, you guys are buying this thing. This money is that $25,000 credit that's going to go to you guys out of $50,000 you paid. That's you guys are, that's like a down payment on this place. So you guys need to take ownership. Remember, these types of opportunities work really well for someone who does not currently qualify for a bank loan, and they don't really want to rent anymore. They want to own their own home, right? Why would you not want to own your own home if you could? So we're looking for those types of buyers, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not, there's far more buyers in that category than there are in the category of qualified, bank financeable buyers out there right now. Okay. So Peggy says they're not the owners yet. No, that's correct. They're not the owners yet, but we're going to put the burden of what ownership looks like on them and as part of the qualifying process. Okay. And that's not saying we're cheating them. We're making this all very clear up front, but we're saying you're not just coming in as a renter here. You're not going to call me every time the toilet backs up. You're going to take ownership on this thing like as if you are an owner, because you're going to be vested. This is going to be your property. You're going to have an opportunity to actually, earn your way into home ownership by fulfilling all the obligations on this deal. So Caroline is absolutely right. The self-employed small business people that are not showing a profit on their tax records because they're trying to keep their taxes down, but subsequently that means they can't go out and qualify for a bank loan. There's people out there that make really good money as self-employed, small business owners, but it's just a dog and pony show when they go into the bank, because the bank looks at them and says, well, you don't make any money. Well, we make really good money, but we have a bunch of write-offs through our business that allows us to show low personal income, but a lot of the business, they're living off of stuff that has to do with the business. So those type of folks, they're looking for deals like this. So guys, I'm just trying to tell you this right now, that there are deals out there that can be made. There are deals that can be had when you will think outside the box. Peggy says, what about in 5 years? What about in 5 years, Peggy? If they don't qualify to buy the house at $550,000 plus minus the $25,000 credit I'm going to give them, if they perform on all accounts and all points, then if they haven't qualified in 5 years, if they haven't gotten their credit up, their income up, then it's they didn't really want to be the owners. And guess what? Now I can say, well, you guys want to keep renting, or do you, I can evict them and start the entire process all over again. So the whole idea is you're going to find a buyer that is looking, a renter buyer that's looking to become a homeowner, and they're willing to work toward becoming qualified as a homeowner. You want to give them an opportunity to buy. And best case scenario for me, absolutely, if they don't buy in 5 years. Why is that? Because I can, say, hey guys, it's been nice having you, but I got to sell this place. It's time to move out, and then I go and repeat the process, or I just sell it on the market for $550,000 and to somebody who wants to come in and pay off the note. So does that make sense, guys? Give me a thumbs up if you understand this. If that makes sense to you guys. Yes, Tess, it's worth more. That's right. So this is a really good scenario for creative financing type of things. How would you handle the conversation with the owner you told you would pay off? Okay, let me see. How would you handle the conversation with the owner you told you would pay off? So are you saying, Caroline, are you saying like what happens if the end buyer or the renter buyer doesn't qualify, and I can't sell this or pay off the seller? Is that what you're saying? I think that's probably what you're saying. What I would do is, first of all, I don't have the timelines completely aligned, perfectly. So in other words, if I've got 5 years where I've got to have this thing paid off, then I'm going to require the buyer to have their ducks in a row at 4 years and 6 months, or 4 years and 3 months, or maybe even 4 years, right? In other words, I'm going to tell them at 4 years, you've got 3 months to get qualified. Okay. Now remember, if they don't qualify or whatever, I can go list the property on the market and sell it, right? I can go out and say, hey, to a cash buyer, if you guys want to come in and bring a deal, bring some money here, I'll make a deal with you, because I can sell it for less than $550. Because remember, after 5 years, I only owe $497. So I have a little bit of room here too. Best case scenario is I go to the seller and I say, hey, how do you like having those monthly payments? Well, what if I bumped your monthly payment up to $1,200 a month? Would you want to stay in this deal for another year? You see what I'm saying? You negotiate with the seller, and if they're just not going to do it, then you either, like somebody said here, Peggy says, refinance. Yep. Or like I said, you go out and find another buyer to come in, and I turn around and say to the, Peggy says you can flip it, refinance it. Or again, I can go get another buyer to come in and bring another $50,000 down, and I can say to the seller, hey, are you willing to stay in this deal and continue the $1,035 a month payments? Or maybe I'll bump you up to $1,200 a month if I give you a $10,000 a month, if I give you a $10,000 check today that goes toward the purchase price, or I give you a bonus, right? All this stuff is negotiable. Now, who's going to say no to a $10,000, payday and more money per month for the next year? You see what I'm saying? You find some way to make it work for the seller, and if it absolutely can't work, you still have enough time between those conversations and when it's actually due to get it on the market and sell it. And remember, 5 years from now, this thing's probably going to be worth $600,000, not the $497 that you're going to owe. Does that make sense? So I can now discount it below market price, still sell it, and make a profit on it. Guys, does that make sense? Can you understand why there's so much power in creative offers? Creativity is what makes, again, I'm offering $50,000 more to the seller than they're currently asking right now. If they don't take this, they're going to be crazy, right? It's been sitting on the market for a couple of months. It's a buyer's market. They're probably thinking they're going to lower the price, and here I'm going to come in with a higher offer as long as they will carry the note for 5 years. It's a no-brainer, right? So how easy is it, Monica says, to refinance a property with current creative financing if I don't have a W-2 or enough income to prove due to tax deductions? I can't qualify for a HELOC loan. I get it. Monica, you'd be the perfect kind of buyer for this type of a scenario, right? You'd be a perfect lease option buyer because you're the kind of person that we're talking about, people that have income, people that they're living off of assets, or they have equity, or they have rental income, business income, income from disability, whatever, and they have even a little chunk of money. Most of the people that I've sold these types of deals to are people that had either really, really good income in a good business or a good job, but they just did not have good credit. They didn't qualify for a bank loan. They weren't organized enough to really keep all this stuff. And so they just I'm so tired of dealing with the banks. It was either that, or it was somebody who came into a little bit of cash, whether it was from an inheritance or whatever. And they were like, I don't want to be a renter my whole life. I want to take this money. And so I don't go blow it. I want to go buy an asset. I want to buy a piece of property. And I've had two people that was the scenario for them. They could put money down on one of my deals that I was offering because they knew that they were probably just going to blow through that money, and they wanted to put it into a piece of real estate. So they actually offered to, they actually ended up being my lease option buyers. One of them was like $35,000, the other one was $50,000 down. Okay. So Monica is saying, how can I refinance? Well, Monica, those are the kind of questions where you go, you know what? If there's a will, there's a way. Okay, maybe you don't qualify, but certainly you probably know someone who does qualify, and you can go and make it worth their while to come in and refinance this deal and have you added to the loan or added to the note, so you can retain ownership, but they're the ones that are financing the deal if it's really worth keeping. Now, if it's not worth keeping, then you just sell it and you move on to the next one. But the point is, when you're looking at what your options are, that is why it's so valuable to be on these calls, to be connecting with people in the networking events, to be going to the meetups, to be in these different groups and getting to know people. Because there's, believe it or not, there's actually people in this group. There's probably people on this call right now that are very, very well qualified to get a bank-free finance. They're absolutely qualified as far as their income goes. And if you are coming to them and saying, listen, I'm going to make you a part owner of this really good deal that I have, I just need you to go in and qualify for the financing with the bank. Are you willing to do that? Especially if I pay all the, I'm going to cover all the costs of the fees, and I'm going to pay you $10,000, or you become a, 51% ownership on this property. There's ways to make people incentivized to come and work with you on something like that. So hopefully that makes sense, Monica. I guess what I'm trying to say is, where there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way to figure it out, okay? And usually it's going to involve getting outside of the status quo, typical, this is how we do real estate. We go out and we hire a realtor. We go and get a bank loan. That type of stuff works for a lot of people, but for other people, it's just not the way to go. It's not the way, maybe they don't even qualify for a bank loan. So they get out there and they get creative and they get deals done, despite the fact that maybe they don't qualify for a bank loan. Maybe they don't even have any money of their own. but they use the brain that God gave them, and they get out there and look for opportunities, and they make things happen by offering, like I just showed you, $600,000 for a $550,000 asking price. Now, the guy may not take it, right? I just gave you guys a whole bunch of scenarios here that may not even happen. But the point is, these are the types of offers that I'm making. And you guys, if you're looking for deals out there right now, feel free to get creative. Feel free to make what would be considered a low ball offer. It's a buyer's market right now. You guys might be surprised to find out there's people out there that will take whatever they can get, even if it's a little bit unconventional. So, all right, guys, I hope that makes sense. I hope that was informative to you. If it was, please like, share, subscribe. Please do all those things. You guys know the drill. It helps us get this out to other people. And there you go, Peggy. I like that. Pray about it, right? That's right. I like that. Just pray about it. That's good policy. So you guys, please share this broadcast around, and hopefully this is informative. Hopefully that this made sense. If it didn't make sense, just give us a thumbs up, pretend like it did, and ask me questions later. But appreciate you guys. Look forward to seeing you again soon, and God bless. We'll talk to you later. Yep. Take care, guys. God bless you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.